Hello again, everybody. Here we are on the very last weekend before our Canadian federal elections. And I spent a lot of time in the past few months trying to explain to Canadians and to the world why I am opposed to Pierre Poilievre and do not believe at all that he should be the Prime Minister of Canada. And as we all head to the polls on Monday, for those who haven't voted in advance yet, I want to review some of those reasons and talk about them and make them clear. Because there's been so much said in this campaign, and so much misinformation, that Canadians need to have a good understanding of just exactly what they're facing and what's happening. So, let's talk for a little while this morning about Pierre Poilievre. Now, first of all, I oppose Pierre Poilievre largely because of who he is and what he believes in. He has lived his entire life proclaiming himself to be an anarcho-capitalist, a libertarian. Now, I don't use those words as an insult. I use them to explain his core political philosophy. And I know what he's talking about because I, at one time, was a leader of the libertarian movement in Canada. I dedicated my life way back in the 1980s to bringing about the changes that he wants to bring about. So I'm just not some outsider who's taking pot shots at him. I know what he believes and what he's suggesting. You know, most of his supporters have not really looked at it. But the economists he follows, like American economist Milton Friedman, or Murray Rothbard, or Ludwig von Mises in the Austrian School of Economics. They have a very radical view of government, that government should not be involved and regulate or tax businesses and corporations in any way, shape, or form. And Poilievre, all his life, has subscribed to that belief ever since his high school days, and he's continued and maintained that. If you watch what he's done in this election campaign, he keeps giving people those vague answers: axe the tax, build the home, balance the budget. Simplicity without giving detail of what he really wants to do. In Pierre Poilievre's world, he does not believe that government should be involved in healthcare. Period. Now, I know that as the last few weeks of the campaign have gone on, Poilievre has run to the center as he's been losing support all across Canada, trying to convince Canadians that he's not some kind of a monster. Maybe he is. The truth of it is, he is now trying to say, I will protect this. I will not cut dental care. I will not cut pharmacare. I will not cut pensions. And the reason he has to say that he won't do those things is because his entire life he's advocated that that's the right way to govern, and that the government has no business being in those things. So his only chance of getting elected now is to reinforce to Canadians, no, I don't believe in those things. So that's it. He is a very extreme view of the world, of the economy. Philosophically, he's an Ayn Rand believer, advocate. Ayn Rand was a very controversial philosopher who believes in rugged individualism and unrestricted capitalism. And Pierre Poilievre is dedicated to that philosophy. It's his view of the world. Now, beyond that, let's look at other things that are going on. Pierre Poilievre has made his single goal in life to be the Prime Minister of Canada. He is a political animal and an attack dog. He has conducted one of the most deceptive and grievance-based campaigns that we've ever seen. To him, everything in Canada is broken. Everything in Canada is the fault of the Liberals. They cause every problem you have in your life is because of them. That's just too simplistic to even suggest. I'm responsible for my life. I know politicians have an impact on it, but I don't take everything in my life and blame it on the government. No. I also don't believe for 1 second that any politician is going to solve all of my problems. That's when you start to get suspicious of strong men like Poilievre. When I start saying to you, everything's wrong with your life, And if you just vote for me, I can make everything perfect. I can solve every problem you have ever had. When you hear politicians talking like that, run away, because it is a bad sign. And Poilievre's been doing that through the whole campaign. You know, he's had this campaign of hatred, of negativism, of blaming everything on the liberals, and deception. You know, everything about when the parliament was prorogued, saying how that's criminal, when in fact, he and his mentor Harper did it 3 times to avoid votes of non-confidence when they were in government. But he's trying to convince Canadians how evil that is. He keeps trying to tell us that Mark Carney was Justin Trudeau's finance minister for the last 5 years. Not true at all. Mark Carney gave advice to Justin Trudeau at the height of the COVID pandemic. But Poilievre doesn't care about facts. He doesn't care about truth. He just wants to convince you that he can solve your problems and that liberals are bad and evil. And it just isn't that way. And we've got to stop him. There's been a lot of talk, too, about the connection between Poilievre and Trump and Maple MAGA and Trumpism. And now you've got Poilievre running away from that after years of supporting the populist movement. I know this much. Perhaps all Poilievre supporters may not be Trump supporters, but every Trump supporter in Canada supports Poilievre. That is for sure. Look at his record. Look at who his compatriots are. You know, Danielle Smith went to the United States asking the Trump administration to change their tariff policy because it would help Pierre get elected. I mean, think about that, okay? The deception. She is his secret agent, his connection to the Trump administration. Canadians hate U.S. President Donald Trump, and they're outraged and rising up like never before against Trump's campaign to cripple Canada's economy and to annex us as its 51st state. And Poilievre's problem? Well, he's commonly perceived as a Canadian version of Trump and leader of what's come to be known as Maple MAGA, Canadian movement similar to Trumpism. So now Poilievre is trying real desperately to run away from Trump and distance himself from Trump's actions and policies, and trying to suggest that he would be the best person to lead Canada's fight against Trump. And he's not being very convincing, and it's not working out very well. You see, he really can't condemn Trump in the way that most Canadians want him to, because a very large, significant portion of his core base of followers are Trump fans. And they want the same kind of leadership and policies in Canada. And Poilievre risks alienating those voters and losing a significant number of followers if he condemns Trump too strongly. And that failure to stand up against Trump is hurting him and his campaign badly. And it isn't helped any by the slew of Trump world spokesmen and Trump surrogates coming out in droves in support of Poilievre and even offering their endorsements. I mean, from Tucker Carlson and Jesse Waters to Elon Musk, Steve Bannon, Alex Jones, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, Matt Walsh, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, it doesn't stop. All these mainstay enablers of Donald Trump are coming out saying that Canadians should elect him. Heck, even Canada's own sharp tag shyster Kevin O'Leary is cheerleading for him. He has been endorsed by Elon Musk, by Jordan Peterson, by anybody and everybody who is a Trump MAGA dedicated advocate, endorses and wants to see Poilievre elected. And that itself is more than enough reason for us in Canada to say, no, thank you, Pierre. Now, this is a really important election, and I want you all to go out there and vote. But remember, do not be fooled by what you're being fed by the Conservatives. They want you to think, oh, Justin is evil. Oh, the Liberals are bad. Oh, Carney's a fake, a liar, a businessman. They're fabricating all that. They're trying to make you their sucker so they can get what they want, just control and power, so that they can basically run an unregulated economy with no taxation, no controls, no regulations, no safety standards, and the environment be damned. I'm not going to stand for that, and I really hope that you're not going to also. Listen, thank you very much for watching this video, and please get out there and vote and make your voice heard. Stand up and do what you believe is right. Thanks again. For those of you who are here for the first time, I'm Nick. I'm a 71-year-old retired Canadian, and this is my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the content, here are a few other videos you may enjoy, and please, what you can do to help me is like this video, give comments. I love to read your comments and your opinions, and please subscribe to the channel. Thanks an awful lot, and please have yourself a great week. Get out there next week and vote. Make a difference. Thanks a lot again, and see you soon.